Hello and welcome everyone to our next episode of Help and Trade podcast, where we give space to entrepreneurs and their startups. Today's guest is Michael. I met Michael in Klimaton, which happened about 2 weeks ago, organized by Basel Impact Hub here in Basel. I'm really happy to have Michael here as a guest. His idea is really nice. I like it, and I'm looking forward to discuss with Michael all his challenges and his current state of affairs. Michael, the stage is yours.
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Michael May. I'm a Scottish engineer. I moved to Basel around 2 years ago, and relatively recently I started a project called Lyfa. And Lyfa is an online store and delivery service for plastic-free groceries. What we're aiming to do is to provide people with an easy and convenient way to reduce their plastic waste. And that's going to start in Basel and then spread out across Switzerland and then hopefully to a few other neighbouring countries too.
Great idea, I must say. So, Scottish engineer.
Scottish engineer, yeah.
That's already something. Tell me, what was your path towards entrepreneurship?
Probably not so clear. I think for me, in my own head, it was very obvious that that's kind of where I was going to end up, doing my own thing. I wasn't sure exactly how that would look. I'm a chemical engineer. I studied chemical engineering in Edinburgh, and I came to that because I was good at maths and good at chemistry, and that was pretty much the only reason to do that. And then I moved to Basel for a job, and the whole corporate big company situation didn't suit me so well. Yeah, I mean, I've always been looking for ideas to start a company, but it's not as simple as that. I found when you try and force an idea out, it's never a good idea. The kind of way we did it was myself and my co-founder, Lewis. We studied together as well, and we had this thing where we would always come up with ideas and then bounce them off each other, and then inevitably come up with ways or reasons why it wouldn't work. And so we've been doing that for a number of years. And then eventually, when we had this idea, there was no real reason why it wouldn't work. So we kind of pursued it a little bit more, and now we're on the road now for maybe 6 months or something. This idea came out born out of a frustration, out of a pain that we're feeling ourselves, trying to do things that are good for the world, and it's not easy to be good often. So we're trying to make that a bit easier for everyone else.
Often it is the industry which pushes against the change.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the time we're kind of waiting, or consumers are waiting for kind of some big change from big companies or regulatory changes from governments, because, you know, that's the easiest way to do it yourself. Right now, you want to save plastic waste. It's difficult. You have to go out of your way and make big changes to your lifestyle. Your daily rhythm changes quite a lot. I think often people are just waiting for Coca-Cola or whatever to stop using plastic or whatever it is. But we kind of see the other side where we have an idea that could work, and we'll just try and implement that. And if people engage with it, then that's great. And hopefully that'll be a catalyst that'll change, you know, other industries too.
Very interesting. What is behind the name of Lyfa?
So Lyfa, yeah, is spelled Lyfa. It's basically, we're creating a startup. We wanted like a startup-y name, so it had to be kind of short, 4-letter name. And then we were kind of looking at what is it, and because we're based in Basel, it's German speaking. It's a Lyfa service, and then we just went from Lyfa service to Lyfa. It kind of almost started just because we just needed a name to refer to the project. You know, like when we were talking to each other about it, me and my colleagues, with my girlfriend or whoever it was, and it just made it easier for ourselves to have a name for the project. We didn't really expect it to stick for that long, but it has now. And so, yeah, that's where it is.
Great. I mean, at some point over time, rebranding always happens.
For sure. And I think that's the thing is we were talking about changing it, and then we thought, well, what's the point? Because we're going to change it to something else, which also hasn't got any real thought behind it, because we're not marketing or branding experts at all. So we've just left it for that for now. And, you know, actually, I quite like it. I think people do like it. One thing that's annoying is people get confused between Lyfa and Lyfa, but to be honest, that doesn't really matter so much for us. But we'll see. Yeah, maybe it'll get rebranded to something else. Hopefully not out of not being forced to because we've damaged our own brand, but hopefully just because it's better for the market.
Let's hope for the best. We'll see in the future. I mean, usually it is a necessary step for every company. Nevertheless, you were mentioning your co-founder, Lewis.
Lewis, yeah.
Is there someone else on the team as well?
No, at the moment there's just the two of us. Lewis is from Wales. He also studied chemical engineering in Edinburgh with me, and he moved here about 2 months ago now to help with this project. So we've been working together on it for a while, but he was based in Italy. We are partnered, or we're on the support program through the Startup Academy in Basel, and also have coaching funding through InnoSuisse. So we have a number of experts and mentors who take on advisory roles within the team. Also, we're partnered with Basel Umverpack, so they kind of have a more experience within the consumer-facing side of the business. Yeah, they kind of, again, on an advisory role, but also help with some of the trials that we're running. But yeah, in terms of the core team, it's just the two of us. We are actually trying to expand the team at the moment to some areas which, as two engineers, we're kind of weak on, and we're going to be hopefully expanding and building the team over the coming months.
Very nice. What are your current challenges?
The main challenge, I suppose, is, like any startup, is funding. And the reasons for that is because, as a consumer goods startup, funding is very important because we managed to put out an MVP, which basically did the basic principles of what we're trying to offer, which is people can order online, we'll fill and pack containers ourselves, deliver it to the customer, and then on the next delivery, bring back any empty containers. And so we did that, and we've had a few customers in. But feedback that we're getting from our customers and potential customers, so these are people who signed up on the website but then didn't end up ordering, is that there's not enough products and it's expensive. And the thing is, we run these trials based out of Basel and so we basically offer their products that they have online at their prices. So we can't really make any changes to that. Also, we don't offer all of their products because it's just not possible to sell them both in a shop and online. So we only offer kind of the main products like rice and pasta and shampoo, things like that. Yeah, to basically do what our customers want, continue the iterations on our MVP. We just need the funding to be able to start that and to improve the functionality of the website and have a warehouse, our own product range and things like that. So that's our main challenge at the moment. I was actually on the weekend at a Halloween party, and someone there knew about us. Well, when I was talking to someone about what we do, someone said, "Oh yeah, there's a company already in Basel doing this." And then it turned out that they were just talking about us. And then she was saying that yeah, she was on the website and she wanted to order, but there just wasn't enough stuff. There wasn't vegetables, wasn't all these things, so she didn't. And so we're kind of getting the same feedback, and there's nothing really against the principle as a whole. It's always about these kind of things that we aren't able to change at the moment.
So do you think with adequate financing, you're going to get wider range of products which you can offer yourself? Does it mean the dependency on your supplier so far will be cut off? Or
yeah, exactly. We can basically the shop doesn't track inventory well enough for us to be able to integrate fully with them, and so we need that system within ourselves. Basically, by having our own warehouse, we can react to the consumer demand. When new products are demanded, we can actually add that in ourselves, and we can't do that at the moment. Bringing in things like vegetables, fresh products, is something that's not so expanded in Unverpackt, and that's something we can do more of. And additionally to that as well, the fact is that we don't run profit off the revenue because it is just a trial. It's just a way of testing it. And so we haven't got any margins on that. And when we start bringing in our own products and we can actually start generating revenue, then we're able to actually have a profit margin which will allow us to expand itself. And we actually have more additional funds to play with. Basically, at the moment, every delivery we do will lose some money. And of course, as well, at the moment, the sort of background, what's going on in the background from our side is very basic, which is fine because it's at such a small scale. But as it grows as well, we'll need to expand our logistics capabilities to be able to deal with that. So yeah, we're going to do that by a crowdfunding campaign, which will be out in a couple of weeks, run through end of November, early December, hopefully, if we get everything prepared in time. And that's both a way of generating the pre-seed investment, but also it's a way of getting people on board. So by taking part in the crowdfunding campaign, people will essentially become our first customers. So we're going to release it kind of in waves, slowly to the public. So by taking part in the crowdfunding campaign, there'll be a certain exclusivity for the first couple of months as we kind of trial it and roll it out on a sort of stepwise basis. Great
to hear. It seems like you really have a plan of what you're doing.
Well, yeah, maybe we're just good at pretending that we have a plan. And we talk about our plan enough that we've got it written pretty well. I mean, I think the thing is, yeah, we do have a good plan, and we spend a lot of time thinking about our strategy and how we're moving forward and what needs to happen along the way. And we're quite ambitious with our strategy and our targets and our milestones. And I think also, we studied chemical engineering, which is actually very different normally from most other engineering disciplines, where we spend a lot of time learning things about market analysis, economic analysis. I think that kind of gave us a natural affinity towards planning and validating what we're doing. And so, yeah, we don't have much experience in marketing, communications, and sales and that kind of thing, but we, on the business as a whole, we're very confident in what we're doing there. So yeah, I mean, we're problem solvers. We had a problem, we're trying to come up with the best way to solve it. And of course, we will need much larger investments in the future. But of course, we recognize that to get angels on board or investors on board or any VCs or something in the future, we're going to need to validate what we're doing to a much higher level. And so, yeah, the crowdfunding allows us to put a sort of real version of our product out there and test it. And if we get some hundreds of customers, regularly, can show that we validate the business model and validate the concept as a whole. We're hoping that will be quite attractive towards investors, both from a financial returns point of view, but also the fact that we are trying to do something good for the world. And I think people are starting to have a sort of more natural affinity towards those kind of projects nowadays.
But I see it as a risk from my perspective, just listening to you. I can just totally see as a huge chain of a supermarket. We'll just switch from one day to another and say from now on we do delivery as we do so far, but we're switching to plastic-free delivery. Would that go against your business model entirely?
We obviously recognize that as a big threat. The thing is, there's a couple of scenarios in that situation. The first, I suppose, is that a big supermarket chain, yeah, you're totally right. They could see that it works and they can put in a whole lot of money and probably in a couple of months do what we've done in a couple of years. But I think the issue that they will have is that, especially, in the next, say, 5 to 10 years, the supermarkets aren't going to change exclusively to plastic-free products. That's just not going to happen. There won't be the demand for that. And they'll have the issue then of providing both plastic-free products or packaging-free products, as well as providing things that have got plastic in them or are wrapped in plastic or other packaging types. As well, on top of that, then they're also selling perhaps both organic and non-organic products, some products which are local, but also products that are shipped from far away, that have palm oil in them or whatever it is. And so the point is that we are able to deliver a service which is exclusively good for the world. It's a very sustainable, and in every aspect that we're following, we're doing that. Even the deliveries, we're doing it by bike. And so we have a sort of, at least attempting an end-to-end kind of sustainable theme, which the supermarkets won't be able to do, especially at the start. Whether that is enough to keep the customers on board, I think it will for sure be enough to keep our current customers on board, but we'll have to see. The other is, of course, that we use that as an exit strategy. That if a supermarket wants to, decides that that's the direction they want to take and they want to acquire what we have done in that time, then that might be something that we'll look into. I mean, at the moment, the thing is, if it works, then it's okay. I can live with that. If it works and then, we get pushed out of the market by bigger companies, then that's okay because we essentially made the difference, If what we did encourages a whole load of big corporations to actually do something about plastic waste, then that's also cool, Yeah, okay, we maybe wouldn't make as much money out of it, but I can still probably talk about that for the next 60 years or something and tell everyone how much of an impact I've made to the world. But I mean, the thing is that we can't worry about it too much right now. Perhaps that will deter investors in the future, but for us, it's like we just have to validate what we're doing, and if supermarkets end up copying it, then imitation is the best form of flattery, so we'll have to take that as it comes.
I really much appreciate that you think of your own business sort of like a torch lamp, that you say like, hey, this is where we can go. I'll show you the path. Anybody who follows, yes, of course, you can run faster than I do, but I was the one bringing the light.
Sure.
It's really nice, and also sounds authentic. And if you realize that there is danger, market is developing, the business is growing also outside of your own sphere of power or influence that you have, and you can be taken over any day. Sure. And if you realize that and you can talk about it, it makes your life easier.
No, for sure. And I think it would be naive to like really think that won't happen,
Very much.
There will be some competition. I mean, of course, we would hope, and what the strategy that we'll aim for is to build a brand that can withstand that. Whether we can, I don't know, and if we can get the investment on board, we should have a good shot at doing that and building a brand that can withstand that when, I don't know, Aldi or Lidl or Migros or whatever decide that that's the direction they want to take. Because it will happen. You can see it already in Germany, just over the border, the Hiba supermarket. They've just created a whole wall of packaging-free stuff in their supermarket. And you can see, I mean, Migros do it a little bit with some stuff, but they've now, as a supermarket chain, who've decided that there's value in having a whole aisle, a whole wall of their supermarket just offering plastic-free, bring your own jars. So it will happen inevitably, whether it's next year or in 10 years or something, and maybe we can't survive 10 years without having the customers on board, but it will happen eventually, and we're just trying to test whether now is the right time. Hopefully it is. Our market analysis shows that it is, but we'll have to wait and see.
Honestly speaking, I hope you're not too late, guys, because the initiative are already there. As you said, behind the border is already happening with the supermarket chain. My big question on that part is then, if you all do all this, that you create a business, you start, and eventually you just run against the wall. Doesn't it take the air out of your own wings?
I don't mean that we're going to run against the wall. I think what I mean is that it will become in some way mainstream, whether it's our solution, but there will be the supermarkets on all these chains will change to something that will be sustainable, because it is what the market's going to demand. If it's not that, then there'll be some regulatory control on that, and there will be change, and that is for sure going to come. That's not to say that that's going to stop us from doing what we're doing. Not at all. We hope to develop a brand that can withstand that. Yeah, it's more the fact that is the timing right, and that's probably one of our biggest challenges, is to identify whether now is the time for that, whether it's too far in the future before consumers are going to really want that kind of service. And whether they want it at all. Of course, it does require some change in lifestyle. You're still starting to order online, which for a lot of people is super easy to do because a lot of people do that anyway. We see changing your lifestyle to order your food online and then just getting it delivered to your house at some point whenever it's good for you is probably easier than preparing your jars and your containers before going shopping every time and not being able to spontaneously go shopping like you can with us. But no, for sure, I think, supermarkets will tend towards that, and we're not really worried about that because there's only so much we can do, and actually the only thing we can do is just work on ourselves. It's the only way we can work on that.
I was also wondering, how do you plan to scale it up?
We run a decentralized system, and that allows us to operate in a way that we can deliver convenience much to a larger degree, in that by having a decentralized system, so essentially a warehouse in every city that we operate in, we're able to deliver very quickly, so within a couple of hours of ordering, and we can deliver by bicycle or by an electric vehicle. And then it's about opening a new warehouse, bringing in products there, creating a small infrastructure in each city, and then just rolling it out. I suppose it's more capital intensive than most tech startups, online startups. But actually we're seeing a bit of a trend towards backing away from the kind of traditional startups that have been brought up in the last sort of 10 years. You can see now with these scooters everywhere, where it's essentially a tech startup, but they have assets, real assets that they're shipping around to, and they're buying and they're creating in their cities, and that in the form of real scooters. And that kind of is the same kind of principle, where we move to a city, we basically open the website or the app and make it available for the people in that city to order. And then the infrastructure that we bring in is basically a warehouse with the goods that can deal with those orders. So I think it'd be relatively uncomplex for us to scale.
Did you think about joining forces with, for example, some sort of delivery service which is there? Or something like, you mentioned scooter. If there is a company which already does delivery on scooters as their own business model, if you can just join the forces.
Sure, we have looked into that. What we've basically found is that on a small scale, it doesn't make sense. On a mid scale, it does. And then on a large scale, it again doesn't. It becomes more efficient to do it in-house. The main issue with that is that if we want to have complete flexibility on when people can deliver, when they want their deliveries, that becomes quite expensive. It's quite a specialist thing, and you have to find a company that's able to do that. But actually the two main issues. One is that we operate a model where we deliver and return. And so for us, delivering food to a customer and then picking up the containers and bringing them back to wash them and reuse them, it's relatively easy. But when we looked at third-party companies, that's essentially 2 deliveries that you're paying for. One to bring it from you to the customer, and then bring whatever's empty from the customer back to us. That then, again, becomes expensive, and that's something that we'd have to relay back onto the customer, and then that's just not something we want to do so much. The other point is quite simple, is that the only time the customer ever sees someone is the delivery driver. It's the only kind of actual human contact they have with us. For us, it's quite important that the person who delivers to them is a Lyfa guy who is representing our company, can answer questions for you if you got the wrong order. It's not just some delivery guy who's doing his job to bring a box from A to B. It's more than that. And you see that in Britain, actually, in Switzerland too. In Britain, it's quite common to do home deliveries for groceries shopping. When you order through Tesco, then Tesco van will arrive at your door, and Tesco guy will come out and give you the products from Tesco, and it's quite it's like that. You have a kind of relationship almost with the supermarket at that point. We do actually have one kind of active competitor called Loop, who are based in the States, and they're doing some trials in France and in the UK at the moment, and expanding, I think, to other places, Canada and somewhere in Japan or something as well. They're much of bigger company, bigger kind of larger investment, kind of top-down approach where they got a lot of money to start it. Cooperation between a couple of big companies. And what they do is they deliver via courier, because they run a centralized system where they have like one warehouse, I think, or maybe a couple, but in one of the states, so in New York State, for example, and then it gets shipped out by courier to your home. And that means that it's just a UPS guy that turns up at your door with a package, just like any package would be. And we don't like that feeling. We want to have the customer kind of having some relation to us directly. And so doing it in-house is kind of nicer for us. It delivers the message that we want to bring.
I see a small challenge there when, for example, people order their products to be delivered in the peak times, when they come back from the work, for example, in the time between 5 to 7 o'clock in the evening, let's say half of your customers wants to have the delivery. How do you want to tackle that, logistically speaking?
That is a challenge, of course. I mean, there's two things. One, we will offer varying prices on delivery. So if you want it during a busy time, you pay more. If you want it during a less busy time, you pay less. Also, if you want it during a very specific window, so if you want it within, say, between 6 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., you'd pay more. But if you're fine it arriving between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. because you know you're going to be home anyway, then you would pay less. And therefore, we can kind of build it into our delivery strategy. The other thing is you'll see it now also. There's like Uber Eats and things like that. These delivery companies out, and what they do is run a system where people are paid per delivery, and so that allows us to operate in a way where we can bulk up our logistics capabilities during peak times. So basically have more people working during the peak times. And we need that both for the delivery side and also the packing side. Because when you're getting a lot of deliveries coming in and need to be prepared at the same time, then of course the backroom staff needs to be bulked up for that.
I was thinking something similar what you're mentioning, but quite different, where you, for example, have a community like you have in Basel, that you have certain areas where you know that's a population hub over there, where you would have, I don't know, not necessarily corner shops, but certain individuals who would sign up with your service, but saying like, you know what, I can store your deliveries for 6 hours a day. That's what Post does also with delivering packages sometimes. Maybe that could help you as well.
Yeah, I think that is for sure something we'll look into. I mean, vegetable delivery companies do that, where they have these kind of drop-off or pick-up spots, whatever they're called, around the city, and you can like pick up your thing there. The only difference, of course, is it would work at the moment. Once you start having dairy products or meat products that need to be refrigerated, then it becomes more complicated, because you have to make sure that end-to-end delivery is refrigerated or whatever. But for sure, it's something we look into. I mean, we also like the idea of the sort of Amazon lockers, where you have like a series of lockers built up, and then you get sent a code when your delivery is ready to pick up. And so then it's very safe. You're getting what you've ordered. You type in your code, the box opens, and you can take your box. But for sure, those are models we're looking to. We also will do click and collect service where you can order online and pick it up at our warehouse or at our store. Because for some people, who I don't know, live nearby or have to go past anyway because of work or don't mind the walk, just want to save the time in terms of how long it takes them to actually do the shopping, and want to save the money on the delivery fee, then we'll also offer that. But yeah, I think this kind of pickup spot is something we will look into. It gets very complicated again. These are things that we will work on when the customers demand it in the future. It goes back to the whole kind of funding thing. Once we have the business up and running, we can start to look into those things.
I was just wondering, how much can actually the advisor, which you have now on your site from Basel?
Startup Academy, yeah.
Startup Academy, yes. How much can they help you with that?
So Corvin, he's our mentor through that program, and he was the COO of one of the largest pharma and healthcare wholesalers in Switzerland. And so there's not, I suppose, direct experience to have in that kind of field, like our kind of field. But it's definitely useful for them because, to have someone like that, because you can understand very quickly whether something's even feasible at all or not. And I mean, these kind of models, they're proven before, quite a lot of different systems use that kind of thing. And I suppose as mentors, the role isn't really, is more, we can approach them with problems or approach them with solutions and validate. But I suppose it's not like having a logistics person in the team kind of working for us. It's not like that at all.
Maybe it's one of the complementary skills you would need.
No, for sure. It will be for sure. And I think as we scale, there will be things that we'll need to do to make ourselves efficient to generate the profits that we want. I mean, there'll be a whole load of stuff. For example, we're already talking about how we can automate the filling and packing process, so that actually there will be very little contact with actual employees, because that'll be when we could prepare orders automatically through the website, then actually deliveries can be done very, very quickly and much lower cost. But of course, we have no experience in that kind of thing, so we'll have to, or little experience in that kind of thing. So that's something. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of projects, little side projects. We've actually even started a list of things. I think I've even labelled it things for the future, because we come up with ideas, but we're way too early to even start acting on them. I mean, like another thing, for example, like these, where we're saying these kind of pickup locations. One of the things we wanted to do, in a very similar thing, actually, like you were saying, but instead of having a shop where people can, pick it up from or whatever, we will look to work with large offices in Basel. For example, there's Roche, there's Novartis, Syngenta, Lonza, and things like that, where we would offer basically a free delivery on a weekly delivery, so at the same time every week, say Wednesday at 3 p.m., it gets delivered. We would deliver to Novartis for their employees. And that means that all the employees in that office building can order during the week, and then they'll know that it'll always come to work at a certain time. They don't have to pay for any delivery fees. It's cheaper for them. It's easier for us because we're delivering multiple orders to one place. And it means that even if you're not living in the city and you wouldn't normally be able to do the delivery, or you're living in France or Germany, wherever it is, your food comes to work and it's very kind of easy for you to then drive home with it. And so it's that kind of thing that we want to strike up. It means that we have automatic access to a lot of people quickly, and a much easier way to deliver to them, but they also will have an easier way to receive the products. And you're seeing that now. I think like Novartis was an example before. From what I've heard, they've started some kind of strategy within their office to go reduce their waste. I think through their restaurant or whatever it is. So there's kind of the theme that these companies are looking for, and so we're hoping to capitalize on that.
All the systems which you mentioned or possibilities which you can go, I would say this one is for me the most attractive one.
Yeah, for sure. And it's simple.
You can set it up tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure. We just need the contacts. We need to probably prove of concept. I think they'll want some trust, or they want some feedback, and be able to test the service themselves. I mean, there's also possibilities to partner with, do like a sort of B2B model, restaurants and cafes and things like that, office buildings, to be able to supply them with coffee or whatever it is that they need on a rolling basis and have zero waste. And we already talked, we were at the Impact Hub 2 weeks ago, and I talked with one of the founders there, and he was already talking about like, what could we offer in the future to them as as them being a customer. Because they're trying to run a zero waste cafe there, and when they can go through one place, they don't even have to set up a supply chain. Through one place, they can order coffee, they can order flour, they want to make baked goods, they can order milk, butter, whatever it is they need from one place, and they don't actually have to do any of the kind of organization of this kind of stuff. Then that for them is quite attractive. So that's also things we'll look to in the future to capitalize on that. And I'm sure there'll be restaurants and cafes who will want to advertise that kind of theme.
Michael, I have to say, thank you very much for being here. We are unfortunately running out of time already.
Yeah, it's already here. I was saying at the start, actually, 30 minutes is quite long, but it's not actually.
Goes pretty fast.
Yeah, maybe I've been talking too much.
Nevertheless, I'm really confident in your business plan just because I see you sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
And the way you talk about it, besides being passionate, not necessarily our listeners can see, but yes, you are. But also you have the feet on the ground, which is very important. Your business model is partially proven already, which is also a good hint. Yet you have to be critical about certain aspects, like, for example, building up the real team, those real risks of, the competition taking over. How hard is it for them? How soon could it be that you're out of the game, for example, or stuff like that. But you think about it, and it's important. And surrounding yourself with the right people for you is one of the essential aspects.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm crossing fingers.
Thank you.
Michael, it was a pleasure having you here. Thank you very much for being here. Where can people contact you?
So you can go on our website, it's lyfa.ch, or through Instagram and Facebook. Find us there, same at lyfa.ch. Or then you can, through the website, you'll find an email address and stuff like that, and you can contact us like that. We're always looking for any input or feedback or suggestions or whatever it is. It's also great just to have any kind of validation. Having more followers on Instagram always helps. And like I said before at the start, we're going to do a crowdfunding campaign soon. So getting people kind of involved and able to spread the word for that is always great.
I'll make sure to share the links on the blog.
Thank you.
And our post. Michael, once again, thank you very much for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you. As I said, crossing fingers, and I'll see you on future events happening here in Basel. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see each other in the next podcast. Bye-bye and have a great day.